December 24th, 2020. It is nearly 9 o'clock in the morning, West Coast time. Ho, 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 and har, har, and he, ho, ho, and everything else on you. We were John C. I've been going over some past notes in regards to my Facebook posts. The memory section of Facebook does a day-by-day accounting of past posts people would do. Pictures, memes, statements. I've been going over the past few months, day by day, of what was being transpired back in 2012. And going over the information was trying to bring back some memories of what the hell happened back then. Losing my mother, losing a residence. Not sure what the hell was going on in 2012 since I thought my world was going hell in a handbasket. And nobody was helping out during that time. And a lot of anger, a lot of frustration was happening. That a lot of misgivings and miscommunications, and life hitting you left and right. I mean, you can make up excuses of what happened, or you can go in the blame situation of what happened. The things happening to each other. We do not know how or why. We do not know how or why the fates decide to roll the dice on us one way or another. Bad decisions, which we didn't think at the time. I am not going to be throwing out the argument that I've heard too many times used by certain people out there who lived in the political realm of saying there's good people on both sides. No, there are people on all sides making decisions one way or another without realizing or thinking consequences afterwards. What seemed to be a good idea turned out to be a crapshoot down the road. A lot of misgivings, a lot of angry words, a lot of angry stress and frustrations, a lot of hostility. Going back over my notes in 2012, there was also a lot of fear and a lot of pain. A lot of fear, a lot of uncertainty. And yes, I'll use the term fear again if I have to. When one is so certain and one is so sure about we know we're doing the right thing, and it turns out it wasn't. And a lot of angry, terse things to say. Because we were so upset, so pissed off. My writing was angry. Sending information out to the people. At the time I was angry and fearful, and I was in pain. Going back over the notes and reliving those terrible times Yes, it did make the holidays more stressful. Going back over to 2012, at the end of it, my mom's life coming to closing her final chapter in life. And I'm feeling the terrible loneliness and emptiness, the terrible fear of the unknown, this new path I was going to be on, and I was terrified. I know my brother was trying to hide it, but he couldn't. He tried, he couldn't. We went to different meetings, talking with people concerning about how we felt. And we were terrified. My brother had warned me months and months in advance about our mother's passing back in 2012. He'd warned me back in 2010, 2011. And he saw more of the signs of 2012 coming up on the later half of the year. And we had walks and talks as we took care of our dogs. We had different dogs during that time. And it wasn't easy. Because I really didn't want to face it. I didn't want to face living a life without my mother. I had tried to convey in a hell of a lot of videos and a lot of audio recordings I've done of how much dependent I was on my mother for damn near everything in my life. And my brother. And then in 2018, when all hell broke loose, in September, I realized that everything that I held so tightly and held so dearly, it's gone. And the fear and the anger and the terror of life itself was unimaginable and unbelievable. And reading my writings and reading the letters I sent out on Facebook to people back in 2012 to Glenn Cameron and the Reeve family out there, to the relatives, to the cousins out there. And the thing of it is, I wasn't getting enough response as I felt. As in, where was the help? We're on our own. Where were you guys? A lot of angry feelings, a lot of angry thoughts, and questioning everybody. Where was the family we held together and so we held them up in high esteem? The ideas, the concepts, the people, everything regarding a family. Where were they? Indeed. We must have had the same situation happening even years earlier. When other people were feeling the same way when they were losing their loved ones. Where's the rest of the family? There are certain answers I thought I was entitled to, but there were also answers I thought I knew everything. Anger and haste and fear and everything else going on. I blasted. I blasted at anybody and everybody. How was I supposed to know? How was anybody supposed to know about loved ones who are being lost left and right? That meant the damn to us. No communications, no nothing, and yet when we find out about the death, the anger, the ire, the rage came out. Confusion, bitterness, fear. And the finger pointing. The constant finger pointing. We blamed. We tore at each other's throat. Tore asunder anything and everything that meant family. We didn't care. And I say we because it's not only just one side either. But I was acutely aware of what I was doing. Going back, I was also aware of the feelings, barely the thoughts of what's going on too. It didn't bother me. I was going to be hurting and lashing out people left and right, and not understanding the level and depth of their pain until someone had to walk through it. Reading the letters back in 2012 on Facebook, I was going through it all over again. Different perspective, older, since the loss of my brother back in 2018. Much different perspective, but I still felt or thought those feelings back in 2012 as I go through the postings. Naive I was, terrified I was. Do a Yoda term there. This wasn't the easiest damn thing for me to do. Writing to people left and right, letting them know what was going on. I wasn't doing it on my mother's computer. I was doing it on cell phones left and right, trying to keep track of what was going on. You know, got a lot of smartphone technology back then. I was developing. But still, give me a laptop, and I was going on Facebook, and I was, or even the main computer, and I was still typing things out left and right, what was going on. Seeing my mother dying in front of me. Even shortly before Christmas Day. And I was terrified of the thoughts. A tape recorder can be a friend to a person. Digital recordings lost long ago, but maybe they're archived somehow. But they would have been revealing what kind of depth and level of pain and anguish I was going through, and not to mention the blame and the confusion and the fear going through me as well. What structured support did I have? But it was me walking through it. I was walking through it with my brother, and other people who walked the path as well. I didn't understand one damn thing what was going on, or even the advice that was given to me. How could I have understood? The concept was being introduced. As I was going through the notations of my mother's imminent passage, a hell of a revelation reading about almost a decade later. And the thoughts and the feelings still linger, whisper like phantoms even during the daytime. At night you can think you can feel them and hear them, but the daytime is where you see them and know them stronger, because during the daytime is where they were happening at. How many times did the fire captain keep belittling my brother, not chiding him, plain going after my brother, arguing with him? Now, he was there as a civil servant, trying to perform a duty. He was getting sick and tired of coming out to the residence and help with me and my brother taking care of Ma, transporting her to and fro. He kept arguing with my brother and me to put her into a nursing home. We weren't going to do that. We had seen a relative decades earlier lost herself with no one caring about her. My brother had past nightmares. He had the past experience of what places were like and taking care of relatives at the time. Standards were a lot different back in the 60s and 70s. They may have upgraded in the 80s and 90s and 2000s. But my brother was still stuck on that, I think. Never did say it directly or even indirectly, but I had a feeling. But even after when I saw my own aunt as a young child who didn't even recognize her, didn't even recognize me, we had to take her out. She was up in Oakland all alone. We took her home. And I remember that. But the feelings were different from a child's perspective to a terrified adult perspective back in 2012. Because it was first major, ultimate blow of death visiting me and my family, tearing my family asunder. I had been visited by the cold cruelty of death, I called it, when Grandma left, when Aunt May left. I had seen Uncle Bill go. I wasn't there to see the lights of Aunt Karen, Aunt June go. And understanding it now, a decade later, how can any of us have tried to explain it to each other what exactly was going on inside of us? I have arguments with my relatives on this, with the surviving relatives. But the grief and the pain are still just as deep. Besides olive branches being handed out left and right and trying to regain a foothold in the family. Sometimes I fear the olive branches aren't doing enough. We have gone through so much. We have changed so much. We have lost contact with each other. I kept trying to do the Facebook posts out there and the YouTubes out there in the hopes that maybe people would understand just what I was going through this past year and prior to that. And I forlorn hopes that maybe someone would be educated and understand, actually be educated by the videos and understand what was taking place. It's one thing to give out a letter just to say what was going on, but it's another thing to put depth and feeling and emotion into it. Probably think I'm bullshit. Probably think I'm going to be turning into a Maggie Grubber dictator or something like that. No. No, because I'm feeling it creeping as well. When I start getting comfortable with the idea of passage, then I know whatever is said, whatever is done, back then and now, it doesn't matter. It doesn't. A lot of ways for passage. And some things you don't have a choice with, and other things you do have a choice. Decisions to be made, things to be honored, pathways to be taken care of before. I didn't know these things back then. How could I? No perspective, no. Nothing. No experience. I did have experience of losing people. I didn't have to like it. But in understanding how another person felt concerning about the loss of their loved ones and how they felt, life goes on for some people while others are marking time. Probably during this time is when they get into the proverbial situation where they start to forgive everybody else because they want to make sure their conscience is clear. And going over the notes, letters I've written back then. And I gotta hand it to Facebook on that one. And put things different mind, different perspective that I honestly didn't think I was going to have to go through again. But I had. And I did. A holiday season like this, we had never faced anything like we have right now. So much external upheaval and turmoil. Testing and changing us and challenging us every which way. I'm not going to be throwing out a movie quote on that one, though. But I can say that I've been trying to find reason. Sometimes there isn't. Life just doesn't work that way. At least I discovered. Maybe for other people, not for me. Not for me. I don't know if this Christmas season will be my last. All I know is when chapters are closing, will there be another one written for next year? I don't know. Will the past ever be reconciled? I don't know that one either. If there was a way to reconcile it, I hope I would find it. I would try to find ways to tell people that sorry. Sometimes it's not enough. The chasm between two sides of it is wider and wider each year. You can't even walk across it even with a bridge. Pain gets so damn deep. Anger and resentment. That it becomes the only thing that matters. The only thing that matters in life. And it's hard to reconcile, it's hard to understand it, it's hard to deal with it. But it's there. To those people I have hurt and harmed long ago. I wish I could go back in time and fix it. I wish I could go back in time with the perspective today. Make good on the changes. I can't go back in time. There are shadows, there are dust, there are memories that linger. And the pain is the only constant thing in the universe that never ceases to end. Love does. Love usually finds a way, except when you have a loved one is ripped away from you. All you're left is an emotional black hole that sucks everything else, including your own logic, your own thoughts, your own feelings. The pain gets even bigger and bigger every year. And some days it becomes harder and harder to deal with. Despite all the good you've done, sometimes it's never enough. I'll probably hear the arguments on this one. But I doubt I will relate to it because they're not in my own shoes and I'm not in their shoes. We're walking two pathways. We're walking in two different styles. This is not a happy letter, but somber reflections. Of pain, of agony, misgivings, regrets. Eventually, taking us to the grave. Knowing that there was no way to reconcile, but hoped and wished there was a way, so there could be peace on both sides. No matter how many times an olive branch will be sent out, it's usually getting burned up anyway. Can there be another new sprouting, or is the ground that torched, that nuked, that there's nothing left to grow with? Tragic. Opportunities come and go. This may be the last Christmas letter being sent to the Cameron clan. To my relatives across the country, both in Southern California, Georgia, and Utah. I don't know what next year holds. I don't know if be around next Christmas. But I wanted you all to know how much I deeply cared. How much I deeply loved you all. I wish there was a way to make peace with you old folks. I wish God would provide a way for both of us to begin again. I would hope and pray for a Christmas miracle that next year that at least bridges would be in construction. The only things I can tell you is I'm sorry for what happened back then. I'm sorry for the hurt that caused and was causing. The misgivings and the misinterpretations, the anger, the ire, the rage, the blame, the thinkers. Losing time and losing lost love. Losing the most precious commodity in the universe that could ever happen, a family. A family. I'm sorry for everything. I don't know if there is any forgiveness. I would forgive you all. I still do. I was referring to, I don't know if there's any forgiveness for me. And I don't know if there will be ever. Is it too late to stick the olive branch in the ground? Or is the ground that saturated with all of our energy that we just can't restart again? And to the Reed family, I extend it as well. I loved you guys a great deal. You were my world. You are my family. Family out in San Diego. Marietta. You never lost being family with me. I had lost it with you. I'm so sorry for what happened. I wish things were better. I wish they could be. By some miracle. To be part of someone's life is the only thing that matters to me. To have another olive branch resprout. My family out in Georgia, Utah. I wish there had been time to connect with you folks. I wish there had been opportunities we could have taken together to connect with each other. To really connect. To my cousins, I love so much. One who had lived in Simi Valley. I wish we had been closer. I really wish we could have. And finally, the one in Georgia. I still loved you as I loved our dearly departed sister of sorts. I do not wish this to be the ending chapter I am scared for what has happened. I'm terrified of what's been going on. And I don't know how to face the next chapter in my life if there is going to be another one. I had lost two major players in my life that mattered a damn to me, as I know we've all experienced that kind of severity in our own families. That level of pain and that level of agony. That level of a deep loss. I keep wondering if there was a way to pull it back together. I wish to God there was. There was a family member out in Texas. Several of them, I think. I keep worrying about him and his family, and I keep worrying about other connections out in Texas that I had never met before. I wish I had too. Not having a family in a season like this is, I hate to say this, the most grinchiest thing to go through. The most bah humbug thing. But if it is meant for me to continue on, I will. I just hope and pray that the branches will still be there. That there will be another way of rebuilding bridges. I would hope and pray for the miracle that maybe next year that there'll be sufficient bridges built. We still have a chance. It is a forlorn hope and prayer. Act of faith, a Hail Mary pass of sorts. I just hope and pray that the bridges will never be ceasing their construction ever again. If not, wasted opportunities. Wasted opportunities. I'm sorry. One particular line of favorite movie of my brother's, Jesus Christ. Can we begin again, please? Can we? This is John Cameron Weaver, Roseman, California, signing.